Hello, and welcome back to Love, Happiness, and Success for Therapists. This is a podcast where we dive deep into the heart of therapy for therapists. We're talking about self-care, the beautiful journey of helping others while really taking great care of ourselves as helping professionals so that we can flourish and thrive in this challenging yet rewarding profession. I'm your host, Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. I'm the founder of Growing Self Counseling and Coaching, and I am the host of this podcast. And today, I'm so glad you're joining me for a topic that I think we all struggle with as clinicians. And I think it is important for all of us to be talking about, which is how to close the mental loop after your client sessions so that you're not thinking about them and their issues and how to help them while you are supposed to be present in your own personal life. I wanted to talk about this because this is a real issue for every therapist, and I believe that it is one of the most powerful contributing factors to professional burnout that we have to deal with. So that's what we're diving into today. Get comfortable, grab a cup of tea, and let's dive in. So just to set this up, I think we all know as therapists that when our session is over, it doesn't mean that the work ends. I mean, there's the practical stuff, right? We need to do notes and update our systems and make sure things are scheduled and all the things. But the hard part is that our thoughts often linger, right? We ponder on our clients' well-being. We think about the session that we just had, what we said, what they said, should we have said something else, what's going on? And we also start thinking about where we want to take this next, right? And this, I think, is a beautiful testament to the depth of our commitment. And it really is a byproduct of the fact that we genuinely care about our clients. They're important to us. We want to help them. But it's also really essential to have some tools in our professional tool bags that help us gently redirect our minds, disconnect from our work to ensure our own well-being. And when we find ourselves in these moments of post-session reflection, it's usually, in my experience, because we have stepped into a place of ambiguity. We've opened our hearts, we've connected deeply, we've seen the situation from their side of the table. We know what we hope for them. And also, I think, feel the responsibility of being their guide. So how am I going to meet you where you are and then help you move successfully to where you want to go towards growth and healing and wellness? And so because that isn't always clear, like, how are we going to help? That creates a situation where our minds are now trying to close this loop, thinking about our responsibility, all of the options that we have, the many paths that lay ahead. One of the challenges, I think, of being a therapist is that there's a lot of ambiguity in this profession. There is no right way to do this. There's no formula. And so what then happens is that we need to figure out the path forward in order to provide leadership and guidance for our clients, to be their process guide, if you will. And so when we don't have good strategies in place to help us get clear and close that loop, meaning that we understand where we are, we understand where we want to go with things, we have sort of settled things in our own mind, have a plan. Without that closure almost, it occupies our mind. It stays alive, even if we're not fully conscious of it. Because as you know, our brains are so powerful. And a lot of our brains are processing things and trying to solve problems on non-conscious levels. And that will create feelings of stress and activation. Certainly, if we're like consciously thinking about it, but even if we're not, it generates this like something's not finished kind of feeling, right? So, understanding and having strategies for how to do this for ourselves gives us the mental space to really recharge, rejuvenate, let it go for a little while. Um, and I think also it having the ability to take a step back, get some emotional distance, not think about it, in some ways, I think makes us more effective than when we get back into the ring, particularly if we have some good strategies to truly process it and make sense of things before we do let it go. So, how do we do this? One strategy that I think is the probably the most powerful way is to, as quaint as it sounds, look to our therapeutic orientation. And when we go through counseling school, it's hammered into us like, figure out what your theoretical orientation is. And there's a lot of comfort, I think, in that direction for us when we can say, well, Dr. John Gottman would say, here's what to do next, or, whoever so many models that we could choose from, right? And as we develop in our profession, what happens naturally is that we develop a multidimensional way of assisting clients. So for example, as a couples counselor, my go-to, my core theoretical orientation is emotionally focused therapy for couples. I really enjoy the attachment perspective. It makes a lot of sense to me. And of course, over the years, I've learned often the hard way that that is not actually the best way to help some clients. They need another system, a more direct system, perhaps. They're not digging the experiential thing. So, going into the Gottman method of couples counseling, there are so many different things that we can draw from, right? And of course, I'm speaking as somebody who's, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and that's how I primarily identify professionally. I'm also a licensed psychologist, but anyway, over the course of time, we get exposed to these different models, and I think from that understand the legitimacy and the power of all of them. And while we want to stay away from being eclectic, right? That means we're just using tools from different toolboxes without really having a solid orientation. It is important to have different models at our disposal. So, how does this tie back to when we can't stop thinking about our clients? One of the things that we've discussed is that when we can't stop thinking about our clients, it means that there's this uncertainty. What just happened? What's going to happen next? Did I do the right thing? What's really going on for them? Like case conceptualization, right? And when we're able to say to ourselves, okay, with this person, with this presenting issue, I feel confident that this model, this path, this method of helping this particular client create change becomes for us a guiding light, a framework that helps us navigate through the complexities of our clients' experiences and also our own responses to them. Through the lens of a solid evidence-based model, we can create a case conceptualization that helps us understand what is going on with this person and what needs to shift in order to help them create positive change. And it also creates a roadmap for us around how to help them, what to do next, right? And so if you find yourself frequently mulling over your sessions, perhaps it's an indicator to either revisit your model, take the book off the shelf and reread it just to refamiliarize, especially if you've been out of school for a while, right? I mean, what is the path here to refine it? Or, if you are operating at this point in your career without a solid model, if you've kind of grown and gotten detached from the guiding light that maybe you did have earlier in your career, it's time to get reconnected with that. Because if you don't, you don't have a map, right? And if people are looking to you for leadership and guidance and you don't really know what's going on or where you are or where this whole thing needs to go, or if your client is stuck and you don't know why, it creates a lot of stress. And that's when it's hard to turn off your brain. So getting clear for yourself about the model that makes the most sense in this situation is one of the most important things that you can do to provide yourself with clarity and direction. Another really important skill, tool in your little box is the power, I think, of writing things down. There is a different kind of cognitive processing that happens when we take, vague, ephemeral thoughts and physically write them down with our hands. It processes things in a different way. It encodes information in a way that puts it into language that makes it more understandable and that helps us get our arms around it. So pulling out a journal or a secure, Google Doc, take the time. You don't have to put their names in it, right? But just write down the case conceptualization. Here's what's going on. Here's why I think this is going on. Pulling from your model, how would my model inform me about what's going on? And just the act of writing through it, writing out a case conceptualization can be transformational. When you lay out your thoughts, your understanding, your hypotheses about the client situation, you create clarity for yourself that then can become a clear and concise plan for how to help your client move forward. So, this also creates tangible reference for future sessions. Additionally, it acts as a ritual of sorts. It helps your mind to close the loop and create clarity for yourself, which then consciously and subconsciously gives your brain permission to rest. So, of course, you're already in the habit of doing case notes, which, might be here's what happened, here's what we talked about, here's the next session. But to take the time, just a few extra minutes to be here's what's happening and here's my plan. I think that particularly in some environments, we've had to write out treatment plans to fulfill the requirements of, working with insurance or whatever. And these treatment plans are, at least in my experience as a therapist, not that meaningful to me in the sense of creating a really clear roadmap for me about what the problem is and what needs to happen in order to make it better. And so, again, just taking the time to write through the narrative rather than just relying on a kind of, copy and paste sort of treatment plan can be really, really helpful. And this brings us to another crucial skill, which is mastering the art of mental redirection. So, learning how to gently, first of all, notice that we are thinking about something, we're thinking about our clients, but then how to intentionally, gently guide our minds away from this post session analysis and back into the present towards activities, thoughts, things that bring us joy, calm, and balance, which means that it's important to have activities and things in our lives that feel positive, pleasurable, enjoyable, that bring us balance, which, ties back into how are we taking care of ourselves and how are we building lives where we have positive things in it. Because again, if you don't have these anchors, these solid things in your life that feel fulfilling and robust, it's difficult to have something else to move to mentally and emotionally. And then we stay stuck in our work. It's important to remember that not being able to turn off your brain, as I mentioned in the beginning, is one of the biggest contributors to burnout in our profession. It is an emotional labor. It feels like a personal energy drain. And so learning how to master mental redirection isn't just beneficial. It's really essential if you want to have a positive, long-term career that is satisfying, enjoyable as a therapist. Now, we're focusing on how to stop the mental churn after sessions. It's also, I think, important to acknowledge that these moments of reflection are not bad. They're really positive things. That's our brain saying you need to like solve this puzzle, right? And this also can be a very valuable opportunity for growth, for learning, and professional development for us. Because each client, each session is a chance to learn, to evolve, to master our craft. And it's in these post session reflections, when managed in healthy ways, that can be a really important part of our learning process and our own personal and professional growth. Caring for our clients is this profound, beautiful part of our journey as therapists, but really intentionally caring for ourselves with the same dedication, right? The same commitment is equally important. In the last episode, in episode 1, we talked about the struggles, right? The emotional weight, the reality, the environmental stressors that so many of us deal with. And we acknowledged how the feelings of sometimes isolation, the weight of carrying other people's traumas can really be personally very difficult. But I hope the message was also hopeful for you, because we highlighted all the opportunities for growth, love, happiness, and success that we have. And by using these opportunities, self-awareness, like when you can't stop thinking about a client, that can be a window of insight into yourself and into what you need, right? Do I know how to help this person? Am I feeling personally triggered by whatever is happening with this person or between me and this person? Is this an opportunity for self-therapist work? It can be insight into, do I need consultation? Do I need to talk to somebody about this? I wish I had a consultation group, right? I wish I had a mentor who could help me. Or, the fact I can't tear my mind away from work because, I have been so focused on my career and on my clients. I don't have a lot going on for myself personally, right? That's something positive to shift my attention towards. All of these are just opportunities to get visibility into what we need and to figure out how to embrace a challenging career path while also finding joy and fulfillment in our work. In order to do this, to do it well and to not be incinerated by it, right? It is vital that we're growing as therapists. We're building our own resilience. We are creating a satisfying, successful, thriving practice experience, whether or not you're in a private practice, a group practice, or an agency. It's how do I thrive while I'm doing this? And this always starts with self-awareness, understanding our own triggers, knowing our own boundaries, and recognizing when we need to take a step back and take care of ourselves. None of this happens unless we become aware of it. Similarly, what we need to build a strong foundation of self-care so that we can continue to pour so much of ourselves into others without depleting ourselves in the process. And this journey, again, can take you in lots of different directions. It can be finding your tribe, right? Connecting with other therapists who understand the unique challenges of this profession, building a support network that uplifts you and encourages you. There are so many ways to get these needs met, but they are really real. And then, of course, using these opportunities to get insight into yourself, like, why can't I stop thinking about this, can also be, again, the power of continuing education, right? Staying curious, keeping your skills sharp, constantly learning and growing. These are the things that keep us engaged and passionate about our work. And sometimes when we can't stop thinking about clients, it shines a light in that direction. Maybe I do still have things to learn. And as a byproduct of that, in my experience, when we can learn and grow and feel challenged and kind of excited about things, that's how we stay passionate. It's how we stay juicy. It's part of the I think, wellness recipe of enjoying what it is that we do. Also, lastly, one other tip here. It's very important in these and all moments to celebrate your successes, no matter how small they might seem. Every breakthrough, every moment of connection, every time you help a client find clarity or peace, these are the moments that make it all worth it. And that could even be a point of self awareness and reflection for you. If it's hard to stop thinking about, did I do something wrong? What should I do next? To really reconnect with your own confidence, with your own competence, and be able to remind yourself of, I've been here before. I know how to do this. I can do this again with this client. Let me take a few minutes and think about my model, think about my case conceptualization, work through it like in writing, and then be able to put it away and shift my attention back to something that feels really positive for me. That's how we do it. So I hope that this conversation was helpful for you, because I am here for you. This iteration of the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast for therapists is all about you, because I genuinely believe that taking care of you, helping therapists flourish and thrive, is how we collectively work together to make this world a better place in very real ways. And in addition to this podcast, I have so many other resources that I have been putting together for you. So please visit me, growingself.com/therapists. You can start your journey of self-discovery by taking an assessment that I put together for you. It's called How to Flourish and Thrive as a Therapist. It's a quiz that will help you get insight and clarity into yourself, what growth opportunities you have, both personally and professionally, in order to flourish and thrive in this profession. And also there, growingself.com/therapists, you can access other free articles and resources that I put together for you. And you can also get in touch with me and let me know what's on your mind, because I really want to hear from you, learn what's going on, and take that information back to, okay, what else do we need to be talking about on this podcast? What other resources can I develop for you to support you? So you can email me at hello@growingself.com, or you can also certainly connect with me in our community on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Find Growing Self on Facebook, Growing Self on Instagram and LinkedIn. I maintain a personal Instagram and Facebook page that is more client facing, but at the Growing Self social accounts, you'll find things that are for you to support your journey of growth and flourishing and thriving as a therapist. So, to all of you out there, I want you to know I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm so grateful for the work that you do. You are making a difference, and you are not alone. I'll see you next time.